Sea. And they are completely surrounded. The enemy is pursuing them, and they are terrified. But God doesn't coddle our emotions or our fear or our anxiousness, because he says he can do it, and he will do it. So Moses told the Israelites, do not fear, stand firm, because the Lord will deliver you. The Lord will fight for you. You need only be still. And his presence ushers in a stillness of peace and joy that are inexplainable, unimaginable. Nothing compares to it. You can try to fill it with everything in this world, and his peace just washes you clean. It just washes you clean with the blood of Jesus. So right now, in this stillness, we are going to pray, and we are going to put down all of the stuff that we're carrying to make more room for God, more room for him to move. And we're going to speak to the mountains that are on your prayer request form, and we are going to tell them that there is nothing our God is not able to do. There is no person he can't redeem. There is no one he can't save. There is no one he can't heal. He loves you more than anyone ever will. We cannot describe it in words how much he loves us, that he sent his only son as a sacrifice for us. So Father God, we thank you for your presence today. We find you in the stillness where you take our fears and you take our anxiety and all of our worries and everything we're facing, and you say to take your eyes off of those things and put them back on you, God. So we're focusing on you right now, Lord. We are casting all of our cares on you because we are believing for miracles in this house with every single person. We thank you, Jesus, for the blood of your Son that washes us clean, that allows us to have the Holy Spirit dwell within us every single moment of every single day, that it is an invitation. Your arms are open to just come home. We may not know what our future holds, but we know the author. We may not know where we're going, but we know that you order our steps. We know that no matter what we face, that you will keep us and you will never leave us or forsake us. We thank you for your goodness, and we thank you for your grace. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. You guys may be seated. I have a couple announcements. So Catalyst Youth Middle School is meeting tonight, February 4th from 5:30 to 7 at the Weirton campus. If you need any more information, Leanne back there runs our middle school youth group. Impact Youth High School and Young Adults, there's no meeting tonight. Both groups are going to meet next Sunday, the 11th, at the Shoemaker's House. Is that at 5:30? Okay. Bible studies. We have 2 going on at the Weirton campus. Registration and book links are on the upcoming events. If you go on the app or on our website. Women's, we begin an 8-week study on Tuesday the 20th at 6 p.m. And the men begin a 10-week study on Wednesday the 21st at 6. And those are both at the Weirton campus. Growth Track is coming up on February 25th from 5:30 to 8 at the Weirton campus. And you can register for that on the upcoming events on the app or website. Communion is always available every Sunday in the back corner back there. And next week, any nursery workers are going to meet after service just for a little bit to go over background checks and to all get on the same page. If you by chance can't make it, you can see Christy and let her know.
Amen. How many glad to be in the house of the Lord today? It's good to be back in the house of the Lord. If you didn't know I was gone, that means you were gone. So Stephanie and I went to Dallas. A dear friend of mine from college has a church there, and they just they bought a church and then they redid it. It was gorgeous, gorgeous. But we had an opportunity to drive up to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and spend the day with Josiah at Oral Roberts University. So we were excited about that and spend church with my friend. And they got to hear Christine Kane. Those who are familiar with her, what a gift to the body of Christ. What a sweet spirit behind the microphone as much as on the microphone. Great heart. Got to pray with Stephanie and I, and we covet the prayers and also prayed for the Ohio Valley, and just thankful that God is faithful. Amen. I'm trying to think where to start, where to go. I got a lot. No, I don't. That scared somebody. Everybody's like, oh no, I know I came on the wrong Sunday. I do want to say this: we're having some light issues, so if the lights kind of go crazy, just ignore it. Just that's technology kind of goes through. I guess it's kind of like a little bit like maybe Applebee's today. We're going to have a little appetizer, and then we'll get into the main course. Just wanted to flow through a couple things. I like Applebee's appetizers. I can handle that. I can handle that. Two things that I need from you. Number one is we are looking to kind of revamp our Facebook Live, or not television, but just the Facebook Live, YouTube. We post on trying to do YouTube, or we do a little bit of YouTube, and then we post the messages on the app too, for people to be able to hear it. Plus we do Facebook Live, as you see a couple of these cameras we have. But the cameras are outdated. A lot of people are telling me the cameras we're using are not really supposed to be used for what we're using them for. But I mean, you do what you got to do. But I say that on two things. I need help. So if you want to help, if you're interested in being involved in helping with some cameras and in that realm of like the Facebook Live and doing that, and like the YouTube, you wouldn't have to upload everything, but just for cameras and different things like that. If you want to help in that, see, I told you it would do some things today. You just got to fight through it. Technology is just, they warned me. That's what the text was like. Be ready. It's going to get crazy in here. I was like, you better be ready. It's ready to get crazy in here. So, hey, after service, meet me. After service, come and see me and say, hey, listen, I'm interested. I like that kind of stuff. Maybe you do that stuff at your school or interested in some avenue. Please come see me. We want to up that. As you see, we have prayer cloths today, and we have the shirts out there. So the shirts that we're doing is on I don't want to say donation, but it's on a love offering basis. And people keep... And the people keep asking me about, hey, what's this cost? What's that? It's just on a love offering basis. And what we're doing is trying to get some equipment. I'll preach right through it, though. I'll preach right through it. Tell them, Steph. Tell them. So it's on a love offering basis. So if you get a shirt, just if you want to give $1 million, give $1 million. If you want to give $3 for a shirt, then give $3 for a shirt. But it's going towards helping us. During COVID, we did outdoor service. We go back and forth from Weirton and stuff. We haven't really upped our equipment, and so we need to up our equipment without putting us in the low totem pole. We got bills and things that we need to pay, and so we just need your help. We want to get some better equipment. We have these cameras. You see these little cameras here, and we want to get better cameras to be able to do some things. So I need your help there, which leads me into, this is just kind of appetizer. I'm going to get into somewhere, and I promise I'll get you out at a decent time. 1 Chronicles chapter 22. Verse 5 says this, and David said, my son Solomon is young and inexperienced, and the house that is to be built for the Lord must be exceedingly great and famous. Somebody shout exceedingly great. Exceedingly great. He said that it built for the Lord must be exceedingly great and famous. That word famous there actually in the Hebrew is significance. We think of famous like, oh, it needs to be famous. I don't want to be famous, but I want to have a significance. Come on. And it said exceedingly great. Let's put significant and glorious in all the land. Therefore, I'll make provision for it. So David made lavish preparations for it before his death. He's talking about the house of the Lord. He said, the house of the Lord shall be exceedingly great, should have significance, and it shall be glorious in all the land. We have this mentality in church that the worse we look, the more holier we are. We drive new cars. We wear newer clothes. We have newer appliance. We grew up, we couldn't afford much, and my mom would had the wash pan where you wash clothes. But the thing I always remember about it is she had this I don't know, it was like a roller thing. And you put the clothes in that roller thing and you kind of crank it and it squeezes the water out. Like today they have new. Who still has one of those? Who uses one of those? Brenda, you still, I guarantee you don't use one of those. Exactly. We use newer appliances. We have newer electronics. I almost put out on Facebook and sent a group text out for everybody to bring a picture of them in high school. And then we would compare your haircut to high school to your haircut now. Not too many people have the same haircut as they did. No one here has dial-up internet either. If we don't look or live like we came out of the 1900s, then the church shouldn't. Now I understand, and I feel bad. This maybe not feel bad, like this kind of stuff is on Facebook, and I understand because this is where Stephanie and I talk all the time when we're talking about church. I understand we're the ecclesia, which set apart, called out, the church. And so we, as Stephanie and I, always want to make sure we walk walking that fine, I don't want to say walking that fine line, but being careful. Because we're in the world, but I don't want to be of the world. And when we're talking about the church, exceedingly great significance and glory, I'm not saying that we got to be like a Taylor Swift concert. But if God is doing a new thing, and the church should represent that. Can you say amen to that? So that's why we're doing some of the things with the shirts, and I don't even know if we have any hats left or hoodies, and we kind of went through it. That's why we're doing it. We just want to be did that leave me? First Chronicles. We want to be First Chronicles 20. We want that the place would be exceedingly great, that there would be significance, and that would be glorious in all the land. And we can be in the world and not of this world. I think we could accomplish that. Amen? And so I kind of been talking about that just a little bit starting in January, talking about next steps of taking those next steps in life. Amen? But I'm really believing, and that's just kind of a little chicken wing we threw out there real quick for you. But I'm really believing. I'm believing for signs and wonders. I'm believing for miracles. I'm believing for supernatural provision. I'm believing for restoration. I'm believing for a peace that surpasses all understanding. I really wanted to sit on that just for a second, but I'm really believing for you. I'm believing for you. Been believing for you, but I'm really just going to kick it into gear today because we're moving mountains today. But I'm really believing that God is going to give somebody here today a peace that surpasses all understanding. The Bible says a peace that surpasses all understanding will guard your heart and your mind. And what I mean by that is those that are struggling with anxiety, those that are struggling in their mind with fear, those that are struggling in their mind with discouragement, that God's going to give you a peace that surpasses all understanding. What do you mean by understanding? The understanding is that people at your workplace think you're going to go under. People, your family, think you're not going to survive it and you're not going to make it from what you've been through. But he's going to give you a peace that even in the midst of chaos, that even... We learned this by Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that were thrown in the fiery furnace. But when they were thrown in the fiery furnace and they turned it up 7 times hotter, and they're flaming, but none of their stuff was torched. And he said, our God is able to deliver us, King Nebuchadnezzar. But if he doesn't, we're still going to praise him. We're still going to glory. That's a peace. That's a peace that surpasses all understanding. That's a peace that doesn't make sense to the world. That's why the Bible says, this joy that I had, the world didn't give it in the world. Don't make me sing today, because I'll bring in a little of my old school here today. This joy that I have. Y'all, listen, we'll go way back. Now you got it. Now listen to the sermon, because now you got that song. This joy that I have. John, we got to learn that. We'll bust it. I'll lead it. All right, let's go. Signs and wonders, miracles, supernatural provision, restoration, peace that surpasses all understanding, chains broken, yokes destroyed, family members' eyes being open to the gospel of Jesus Christ. How many of you are really believing for some family members to get touched, some family members to really understand the gospel? I know Butchie kind of preached this a little bit, but I'm believing that God's going to prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. And you hadn't eaten a good steak until you ate it in front of somebody that never wanted you to have it. So he'll prepare a table before you. Principalities and powers broken. Praying for the favor of the Lord. Praying for a hedge of protection. Praying Psalms 91. Believing, that's what we're praying. That's what we constantly are praying. Stephanie and I are praying for you. Not just not this Sunday, not just mountain moving Sunday, but every Sunday after Sunday after Sunday, and week after week, day after day. I want to tell this story, and I might get a little bit of trouble, but it wouldn't be the first time. But Jimmy goes to church, mostly goes to the Weirton campus. He was there this morning. And so he woke up this week and just kind of felt like an uneasiness when he woke up. So I love this. I forgot to tell you, John. So he woke up and wasn't sure. He just felt something like he needed to pray or whatever. And he thought, you know what? I'm going to go listen to John's Spotify channel. Yeah, a little plug for you, Johnny. And so he goes and listens, turns on, I think it's 3 a.m. in the morning, turns John's Spotify channel. If you hadn't gotten on, he's got all the worship songs we do, and just starts to begin to pray and just starts to seek the Lord and magnify the Lord. So he goes to work, and as he's talking to all the people there, phones start dinging and end up finding out that today, that day, is the day that they are letting go of 12,000 people from their company. 12,000 people were walking into work that day having no idea that a job they might have been invested in for 15, 20, 30 years was done. You were getting your pink slip. And so one phone goes off, Jimmy's talking to somebody and ends up finding out. The guy comes back. He said, what happened? He says, I've been let go. What do I tell my family? Oh, another phone dings. The timing of that. Another phone dings, and everybody that he's in charge of, everybody that's in his network, all his friends, the people he talks to every morning, said, I just got an email. They lost their job. 12,000, everybody in his position. And as he's talking and he's trying to help them and I'm going to be praying for you. I'm going to be praying. His phone dings. We need to talk to you. He goes in expecting, It's done. His boss or his higher up says, I just want to let you know, you've probably been hearing what's going on, but I want to let you know that you're safe. You are not losing your job today. He says, what do you mean? I don't understand. He says, I don't know who it is. This is what his higher up said to him. We don't know who it is, but there's somebody in the higher ups. They said there's somebody in the higher ups. There's somebody in the higher ups said that they wanted to keep you and that they got to have you. I'm here to tell you that when you get grounded and you get planted at Impact Church, that we're not here just so we can mark up attendance and we can just say that we have this amount of people. Stephanie and I never tell anybody how many people you have. We're like, oh, we're just doing church. We never tell, because you are not a number to us. You are purpose. You are destiny. You have the favor of God on you, and we pray every week, God, just move in their life. And I told Jimmy, I said, it is the favor of God on your life. It is people at Impact Church that are praying for you, leaders that are praying for you, leaders that believe in you, leaders. We're not believing just one Sunday that He's going to work miracles, but we're believing that God's going to do signs and wonders in your life, that He's going to do miracles in your life, that supernatural provision's going to happen in your life, that restoration's going to happen, that a peace that surpasses all understanding, that chains are going to be broken, that yokes are going to be destroyed, that family members are coming, that He's going to prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemy, that principalities and powers are going to be broken. And I know what you're thinking. Well, what about when I lose the job? Maybe I didn't get like Jimmy. I lost the job. Then we're believing that God will open a door for you that no man and no devil can shut. And we're going to believe with you, and we're going to stand with you, and we're going to be with you, that He'll close a door that no man or no devil can open. And we're going to believe with you and declare over you, Romans chapter 8, that He works all things together for the good. And that means if He closed the door at one job and you lost it, and I know it broke your heart, but God is a God of exceedingly and abundantly above all that you could ever ask or think. And the plans that He has for you are to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a future and a hope, and that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But I've come to give life and life more abundantly. We're going to declare it over you. We're going to speak it over you. We're going to declare it over your family, over your marriage, over your kids, over your household, that if things don't go that way, that God's going to work it somehow. He's going to open a door for you. He's going to make a way. He's going to turn your test into a testimony. He's going to turn your mess into a message. He's going to turn your disarray. Oh, I wish I had somebody in this house today. As one of our stones, the 12 stones, you can find them on the website, you can find them on the app. I preach about them periodically, but one of them is that we are mountain movers. We're not moved by our mountains. I'm glad you gave an amen. Didn't allow this mountain to move you, but you're here today, right? I think you had to go to the doctor and get some things, but you didn't allow it to keep you from the house of the Lord. You're here today, amen, and still sitting in the front row. Not moved by a mountain. Hello? And you see with these prayer cloths, and I'm going to preach a few moments here about it, but with these prayer cloths, we're not telling God how big our problems are, but we're telling our problems how big our God is. 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 9. Let's jump into this and I'll get you out of here. Mr. Wow back there going at it again, my man. He ain't screaming this time. He's amening this time. 2 Kings, are we able? For real? Well, let me know if it ever comes up. 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 9. If you don't have a Bible on you, then jump on your phone. Maybe most of you have a Bible app. They said the internet went down, and so we're having some issues, but can't stop me. Can't stop me. 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 9. So I'm just paraphrasing a little bit, so don't hold me like he didn't say verbatim what this was. So 2 Kings chapter 2, just kind of covering the story a little bit, is talking about two people, Elijah and Elisha. Elijah and Elisha. Elijah is anointed of the Lord, has the anointing of the Lord on him. Elisha and Elisha are connected. Elisha, in this 2 Kings chapter 2, Elisha says, I want a double portion of your anointing, Elijah. Elijah says, hey, if you're around, you can get this double portion. If you're around when the Lord takes me. Listen, man, I can't get into that because it'll be 3 o'clock time we get out. All of a sudden, Elijah, here he goes. Elijah, let's say, throws his mantle to Elisha. So now Elisha has a double portion of the anointing of God. There's two things I want to, it shows that the anointing is transferable. This is what this text I'm trying to show in 2 Kings. It shows that the anointing is transferable. So let me break this down in 2 parts so we can get somewhere. Number 1, the anointing. What is the anointing? Oral Roberts used to say the anointing out of Isaiah is the burden-removing, yoke-destroying power of God. The anointing, the burden-removing, yoke-destroying power of God. If you go further in Isaiah 61 is actually the scripture that Jesus uses in Luke chapter 4. When Jesus is up and gets up in front of everybody and opens up the scroll, when he opens up the scroll, he's actually reading from Isaiah 61. And Isaiah 61 I had it on the screen for you, but he stands up and Jesus said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has anointed me. Somebody shout anointed. He has anointed me to preach the gospel, to proclaim liberty to those that are captive, to set those that are oppressed free, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord, to bring favor. I could preach. I wish we had it up here, but the devil thought he had me. But guess what? Oh, he don't know. He's messing with me today. That the favor of the Lord. And that's what I was telling Jimmy when he went through. He said, Pastor, why me? I said, it's favor. It's favor. The Bible says that Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. Sometimes, Jimmy, favor is not fair. And I just come to let somebody know that favor is coming upon your life. But Jesus stood up and said, for the anointing is upon me. I'm anointed to preach the gospel. I'm anointed. Elijah said, let that anointing come. Let that burn removing, yoke destroying power of God. Let that anointing come. Jesus himself says the only way to do these things is through the anointing. The anointing of God. Number 2, it's transferable. Transferable. Elisha caught the cloak. Elijah didn't say, he said, what do you want? He said, I want a double portion. He didn't say, okay, I'm going to fill out a certificate that says that you are now got a double dose of the Holy Ghost. He didn't say, hey, I want to get some cards printed up and it'll say that you have a double portion. He says, no, if you catch this. Elisha caught his cloak. And the anointing on Elijah came on Elisha. It was transferred when his faith met his faith. If you read further in that text, are you trying to fix something? Thank you. And if you read further, Elisha, when he got the anointing, it says that he took the mantle, or he took the cloak, and he parted the waters with it. The waters went left and went right. It wasn't the cloak that did it. It's what the cloak represented. The power of God. That nothing is impossible with him. Let me go a little further. Let me go. It wasn't the cloak, it was what the cloak represented. I was like, let me go further, and I don't have, but lucky I know the word. Like I didn't steal it from somebody. Sermon.com. In Acts chapter 5, verse 15. Because some of you go, oh, that's Old Testament, brother. Acts chapter 5, verse 15. Peter, you know, the one who denied Jesus. The one who wasn't even there when Jesus rose again. You know, Peter, the one that they had to say, go tell the disciples and Peter that he's still alive. Peter, oh, don't you, hey. Don't play on me today. It's there, girl. Like Wizard of Oz behind the screen. Come on now. They had to tell Peter, hey, Peter, Peter was out fishing, hanging out. He's like, really? He's alive? Like what he said was really true? Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. And he went up, he got filled with the Holy Spirit. In Acts chapter 2, in Acts chapter 3, the dunamis came on and the power came on. He said, you shall be filled. He said that the power, the dunamis, the dynamite that's down inside of you. And then you go to Acts chapter 5. I'm not sure why they did it this way, but many started bringing the sick and the demon possessed and those out in the street. And they said, Peter, just you walking by, your shadow. Your shadow. And when his shadow touched people, demons started leaving. When his shadow touched people, sickness and disease started leaving. As a result of the apostles' work, sick people were brought into the streets on beds and mats so that Peter's shadow might fall across some of them as they went by, and things begin to happen. Listen, it's not the shadow, but what the shadow represents. And the shadow was representing that the God he served is able to save, deliver, heal, restore. If he can use a sling, if he can use fishes and loaves, if he can use a rod, Moses, if he can use a shadow, Peter, he can use a prayer cloth. If he can use a sling, I said if he can use a sling, I don't know how many people are fighting a Goliath. I don't know if he can take fishes and loaves. He took 2 fishes and 5 loaves. He took the fishes and loaves and they begin to multiply. And they begin to multiply. And he says, feed all the people. And they fed all the people out of just 2 fishes and 5 loaves. I don't know what your finances look like this year. I don't know what your job situation looks here. But I'm here to tell you that there's something so powerful about our God. There's something so wonderful about our God that they had leftover. They had overflow. Somebody shout overflow. I don't know who I'm preaching to this year, but this prayer cloth is going to be your Uno card. One of my favorite Uno cards is not to draw 2. It's not to draw 4. It's not any other card. My favorite Uno card that I absolutely love is the reverse card. Because what can happen with the reverse card is that somebody can have a draw 2. Hey, draw 2. Okay, I draw 2. Somebody here can have a draw 4. Draw 4.
somebody can double me up and I can draw 8. But if I get a reverse card, that means it had been coming my way. Problems coming my way. Disappointment coming my way. Hurt coming my way. Nothing but rejection coming my way. Nothing but disappointment coming my way. But if I get that reverse card, that means things are getting ready to turn in my life. Things are getting ready to change in my life. Things are getting ready to move. Somebody shout overflow. Luke chapter 8, verse 43 and 44. Are we still there? Did we make it? Luke chapter 8, verse 43, verse 44. It's talking about now a woman having a flow of blood. I got to go. For 12 years, who spent all her livelihood. Somebody shout, she broke. You ever see that little video with that little kid? If Jimmy's got 3 pennies and Mama got 1 penny, what is it? She broke. I'm just saying, next time you see that video, think of this. She spent all her livelihood on physicians and could not be healed by any. She came from behind, speaking of Jesus, he's in a crowd, and she touched the border. Depending on what version you look, but some say hem. I say hem because I'm a little King James in me. Little King James, New King James in me. He came from behind and touched the hem of his garment, and immediately her flow of blood stopped. What I find interesting about this text here is that she's not like blind Bartimaeus, where blind Bartimaeus heard that Jesus was passing by. And blind Bartimaeus started yelling for Jesus. Jesus, son of David, have mercy. They told him, oh, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. He yelled out louder. It's not even like the pool of Bethesda. At the pool of Bethesda, many of the sick and many of the lame would sit by the pool, and they believed that an angel would come down and stir the waters, and the first one to get in would be. So she didn't even go by the pool of Bethesda and try that. She hears that Jesus can heal. He's surrounded, and she doesn't yell. She doesn't do anything. She doesn't even grab his attention. She didn't say, hey, can you pray for us? Can you pray for me? Can you pray? Can you pray? I got this problem. Nothing. She touched the hem. She pressed through the crowd and touched the hem of his garment. So I know I say this a good bit, but so at Oral Roberts University, every once in a while, we would get privileged with Oral Roberts coming into our preaching classes. If he was doing chapel or something, he would come into our classes, and he would preach on the woman with the issue of blood, and he would preach on this portion where it says that she touched the hem of his garment. And Oral Roberts he called it a point of contact. That's what he would preach from, a point of contact. And he defined the point of contact as this. A point of contact sets the time and place for the start of a miracle. Hold on. It is the method used to release your faith and put your blessing into motion. A point of contact is needed for a person's faith to put into action. The cloth, as you see here, we have some here, we have some in the back. The prayer cloth that we're giving is putting your faith into action. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. I don't know. That seems odd. That seems dumb to put a prayer cloth somewhere. It's not going to do anything. John chapter 9. John chapter 9, are we there? John chapter 9. Then Jesus spit on the ground, made mud with his saliva. Very detailed the Bible is. And spread the mud over the blind man's eyes. Just imagine. They're all standing around. Jesus walks up. I mean, that's what it says. spits on the ground. Now, you know, think like, what's he doing right now? Doesn't go to a mud puddle. Takes the saliva and starts making mud. He's like, hey, come here. Well, the guy can't see what happened. He just heard. Just be thankful I didn't do an illustrated sermon today on this one. I mean, imagine the people thinking, what is this guy, like, laughing, talking? But I'm here to let you know that when he come back from washing that mud off his face, ain't nobody laughing then. Healed. It wasn't the mud that had the healing power. It was a point of contact that set the time and place for the start of a miracle. You didn't see Jesus out selling saliva mud in little jars. I'd get in trouble, but I'll just go ahead already, yeah. Call 1-800-YESHUA, and you will get this free bottle of mud. Come on now. He wasn't out working. He wasn't on the side of the road. It's what it represented. The Bible says he'll use the foolish things to confound the wise. It was a point of contact that set the time and the place for the start of a miracle. Mark chapter 8, verse 25. I'm almost through. Mark chapter 8, verse 25 says this. And it's another person that's blind. This time he didn't. And Jesus placed his hands on the man's eyes. And his eyes were open, and his sight was completely restored, and he can see everything clearly. He didn't use mud this time, he used his hands this time. That's why we have prayer team. If you see people up here praying, we believe in the laying on of hands. Why? Because it is a point of contact that sets the time and the place for the start of a miracle. That when someone lays hands on you, when they pray, just as he didn't use mud this time, but he used his hands, and he came up, and the anointing is transferable, and it was the start. Do we have that word? Yeah. A point of contact set the time and place for the start of a miracle. That's what we're believing today for these prayer cloths. That these prayer cloths, it's not that the cloth has this great, mighty power in of itself, but it's what it represents, and it is a point of contact that it's setting the time and place for the start of a miracle. Who needs a miracle in their life here today? I'm almost through. John, you want to come on up? Acts chapter 19. Do we have that scripture? Acts chapter 19. And this is actually the scripture that's on there. So that even the handkerchiefs or aprons were brought from his body to the sick. Speaking of the Apostle Paul. And the diseases left him, and the evil spirits went out of them. What I love about this is the anointing that was on Paul, the presence of God, the power of God, the Spirit of God that was on Paul was transferable. Can we say that again? The anointing of God, the presence of God, the power of God, the Spirit of God that was on Paul was transferable. There's so much that they took the aprons. They took the aprons and the handkerchiefs, and they put them on people. It's not the handkerchief, it's what it represents. The burden removing, yoke destroying power of God. He puts it on there, and this is what I love. Demons, I'm going to say it that way. Well, we'll say evil spirits. Evil spirits left people. Some of y'all, that know maybe family or friends that are battling demonic forces. You need to sneak in their house. Don't get arrested though. Just be nice about sneaking. Like gradually, like, hey, can I come over for a little bit? Like, don't bust any doors. I don't want Steubenville Popo calling me. Sneak in houses. Put it around the bookshelf. Take it if you can find. Go put it underneath a mattress. Take it and put it behind a pillowcase. Take it and put it in a car. Put it under a car seat. Put it in the house. Put it in a cupboard. Put it somewhere. Put it somewhere. It's not the handkerchief. It's not the handkerchief. It's what it represents. And what it represents and what you're believing is that when you put it in there, you're saying, for me, God, you said, for me and my house, we shall serve the Lord. And I am not standing on what the enemy says. I don't care what the enemy says. He speaks lies. He's the author of lies. He speaks nothing but lies. And I'm going to put this in this car. And God, as they drive this car, every spirit that's been after them shall be broken and defeated in the name of Jesus. Lord, you said that we shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover, that we shall put the enemy up under our feet. God, I'm believing, let the anointing, the presence of God, the power of God, the glory of God, the anointing of God transfer. God, let this be, whether you go to your son's house, daughter's house, in-laws, outlaws, or maybe it's your house. Maybe when I was preaching about a peace that surpasses all understanding, maybe I was preaching to you. Maybe you haven't been able to sleep. Maybe you're tossing and turning because of anxiety. Maybe you're battling fear. Maybe you're battling discouragement. I encourage you, when you get one of these today, and we pass out prayer cards. If you got a prayer card, make sure you fill out that prayer card and we get that today. It's exchanged for this. You say, why? Because we want to pray for you. You're not a number here. We want to pray. And what is it? A point of contact. Can we pull that back up? Can you pull the point of contact back up? A point of contact sets. Somebody shout sets. Sets the time and place for the start of a miracle. The scripture that I read about, y'all wear glasses. I'm going to use you, sorry. Yeah, he's like, you didn't have glasses. Sets, right? The scripture I gave that Jesus laid hands on them. When he first laid hands on them, he said, what do you see? He says, I see people like trees. That's why when you read the scripture, it says again in there that he went up and, oh, I shocked you. I love it. And when he laid hands on him again, he says, now he can see clearly. What do you mean? It sets in motion. That's why we want the prayer. That's why we want the prayer. I'm not trying to, nobody's going to call you and say your 10-year warranty ran out. We're helping set in motion for the miracle in your life. The miracle in your finances, the miracle with your family, the miracle in your marriage, the miracle at your job, the miracle that's going to happen. Are you still with me here today? Stand to your feet, and I'm finishing with this right here. Start it, but let me preach it. Just run with me. 2 Kings chapter 4 is my last scripture. I might have to be preaching in tune. 2 Kings chapter 4, it says, the boy's dead. Elijah comes over and he says, He says, then he laid down on the child's body, placing his mouth on the child's mouth, his eyes on the child's eyes, his hands on the child's hands. And as he stretched out, somebody shout, stretched out. Hold on, I'm getting there. Help me. If you didn't know this was coming, Stephanie, it says that the child was dead. And some of you are looking at a dead situation, a dead problem, no purpose. Feels like God's given up on you. And the prophet came over in that anointing, the burden removing, yoke destroying, and he got on there. And he got mouth to mouth, hand to hand. But it says he stretched himself out. But this is what I love, is that when he stretched himself out, that the thing that was under him began to have movement. And what I'm believing, and what I'm declaring, and what I'm decreeing, that when you use these prayer cloths, and wherever you put them, that the thing that had been dead, the thing that looked impossible, the thing that looked like Lazarus and it stinks, and the marriage stinks, and the job stinks, and the finances stink, that thing will begin to move, that life. Go ahead, John. Just go ahead. Help me sing this song.
Surely it was true. Seems when as impossible ever stop you. Friday's disappointment, Sunday's empty too. Seems when as impossible ever stop you. This is the sound of trombones rattling. This is the praise make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of trombones rattling. Hey, oh!
Come on, lift your hands towards heaven today.
Pentecostal fire, stirring something new. You're not gonna run out of miracles anytime soon. Yeah, resurrection power runs in my veins too. Yeah, I believe there's another miracle here in this room. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is the praise make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. Yeah, rattling. Do you hear it?
Come on, shut your hands. Come on, shut your hands. I got every prayer cloth
Do
we
you
got
hear
today.
it?
Shut your hands out here today.
Feel the right. Yeah.
Every prayer
My
cloth.
God is able to save and deliver and heal and restore anything that He wants to. Just ask the man who was thrown on the bones of Elijah if there's anything that He can't do. Just ask the storm that was rolled at the tomb in the
the prayer cloths were given today. So what I need you to do, I need you to turn in a prayer card. If you haven't turned a prayer card, listen, you don't put your name on it, don't put your name on it. But it sets in motion for your miracle. That we want the prayer cards because we want to continue to pray for you. We don't want it just to be a Sunday thing, but we want to pray and we want to labor. And for you to get a prayer cloth, I want you to exchange it for a prayer. What you wrote down on your prayer card, this is what you're taking, your point of contact is your prayer cloth. But your hand stretched towards it. Repeat after me, say, Lord, do it for them. Notice I said them. I said them. I said them. Because if you can believe for somebody else, it's the boomerang blessing. It'll come right back to you. Give and it shall be given back to you. Press down. We think that's all about money. It ain't all about money. You give and you help and you serve and you love people. It's going to come right back to you. Somebody shout, do it for them. Do it for them. Pour it out, God. Let it rattle. Let it rattle. Let it rattle. Let it rattle. Somebody shout rattle. Somebody shout rattle.
I hear the sound. And the bones began to rattle.
All right.
Rattle.
When I count to three, we would call it, when we were at ORU, we would call it bombarding heaven. Grab a hold of the horns of the altar. But when I count to three, I want you with your hands stretched out. And if you feel led, I know some of them come up here. I want you to put your hands, stretch your hands on this. And I want us to take as a church. And I want us to take about 30 seconds. And I want you to pray. Now here's what I want you to pray though. I want you to pray that God will do it for somebody. When you're praying, say, God, whoever touches that cloth, God, do it with their kids. Do it in their marriage. Do it with their family. Do it in their finances. If they're looking for a job, God, do it there, God. Lord, if they have no peace, do it there. God, if they haven't slept in days and they've only been on 2 hours of sleep and their stomach's so tore up because they're living in so much fear and turmoil in their life and they can't go do it for them, God, do it in them. If it's in somebody's car, God, do it. If it's at somebody's workplace, do it, God. Wherever that cloth goes. Now, you might... I have a little bit of experience of praying like that. Maybe your prayer might be a little slower, but pray that God will do it on the count of three. And I want to take about 1 minute and just bombard heaven. And John, just bombard on that guitar. 1, get ready, stretch them hands out. 2, 3, come on, let's pray, let's do it. Somebody help me up here. Father, in the name of Jesus. Lord, that every person that these prayer cloths come in contact with, that you would supernaturally work miracles, God. That you would do exceedingly and abundantly, God. That you would do the impossible, God. That you would restore, God. That you would, Lord, that there would be increase. That there would be overflow. God, that I pray everybody who's battling demonic forces, that it says in your word that they shall flee. They shall flee. In the name of Jesus. Do it, God. The unthinkable God. Do it, Lord. Oh, somebody shall do it, Lord. Every person, let healings come. Let deliverance come. Signs and wonders and miracles happen. Let it happen in the name of Jesus. Let's end it out with a song. The chorus,
My God is able to save and deliver and heal and restore anything that He wants to. Just ask the man who was thrown on the bones of Elijah. If there's anything that He can do, just ask the stone that was rolled
Some of my teenagers, some of my middle schoolers, you're having middle school tonight, right? Some of my middle schoolers, some of my high schoolers, some even elementary schools. Listen, parents, listen. Put it in a backpack. Put it in a backpack. Put it in a locker. Take it with you. Take it with you. Take it in the classroom. You're struggling with the classroom. Take it in the classroom. You say, how's that going to work? The Bible tells me that he's given me more wisdom than all my teachers. He'll give you the wisdom. He'll give you the knowledge. It's the anointing. Here's what we'll do. 3 things. Tina, are you going back? Tina will be back here with the offering that those who need to give. We have some shirts back here. Remember with the shirts that what we're able to help and do. If you have a prayer card, you can bring it up here. If you haven't had, do we have any prayer cards left? We have some prayer cards in the back. You can fill it out. Bring it up here. We want to be able to pray. Here's the last thing. Get you a prayer cloth. Now, don't take 20 of them because I think I have, 300 of them? I have 300, so we want to make sure everybody gets some. But if you need to grab a couple of them, you got a couple needs, you're more than welcome to grab a couple of them. Let me pray. Father, we thank you for a beautiful day. God, that you would continue to bless this house. Lord, that we be mountain movers in this Ohio Valley. That those devils that said they'd never move in this area, Lord, that you're raising up an army, you're raising up a generation, you're raising up a people that says we're not being moved by a mountain, but we're moving it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. 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 God bless you. Get your prayer cloth today. Get your point of contact.